Hello, it's Dr. Bhatt here. We shall be getting something details about the capillary action in liquids. Now, what is capillary action has to be understood properly. Capillary action is the an application of surface tension in liquid, and it is nothing but the rise or fall of a liquid from its surface from in a thin diameter tube due to strong adhesive forces uh, than the cohesive forces. Okay. And this is also known as capillarity or capillary motion. So what happens that when a thin diameter tube is taken, dipped into a liquid, and then we find that liquid rises up to a certain type, a certain height from the surface, or it may fall down depending upon the nature of the liquid from the liquid surface. So such a action is known as capillary action. Now, the same thing here, when a narrow tube is dipped into uh, water, the adhesive forces between the liquid molecules and tube wall pull the liquid upward. The upward force is opposed by the cohesive forces within the liquid, which tends to keep the surface flat. But uh, due to strong adhesive forces, uh, the liquid rises to a certain height, forming a concave meniscus at the liquid surface. The height to which the liquid would rise or fall, it depends upon the balance between adhesive and cohesive forces, and the diameter of the tube, and also the properties of the liquid. Now, liquid near the walls of the capillary experience a strong attractive force than the liquid molecules in the center, and due to which the liquid the surface uh, with which the liquid is in contact gets wetted, and the liquid rises to a certain height at the um, surface, forming a concave meniscus. Capillary action is often observed in small diameter tubes such as glass capillary tube or thin tubes in porous materials. Same thing given over here. There is a diagram, and we find that the tubes there are of different diameters. One is a very thin tube, and the other is a wider tube. Both are capillary tubes, open at both the ends. And in a thin tube, we find that liquid rises to a greater height, forming a concave meniscus. Whereas if the diameter of the tube is more, then what happens? The same liquid doesn't rise to a greater height. Now, there is another uh, uh, figure here where there is a capillary tube marked with red uh, ink, and here we find that the liquid has fallen down to a certain height from its surface, isn't it? More fall is there in a smaller diameter tube, while in a greater diameter tube the fall is somewhat more. Then it is not that much. So the reason for capillary tube I have already given you. It is creeping up of the liquid into the inner walls of the diameter of the tube are capillary, inner walls. And these forces are because they are passive and adhesive forces. When there is a strong cohesive force, the inner walls of the tube are wetted by the liquid, and there exists a force between the liquid and the inner walls of the tube. The magnitude of the cohesive and adhesive forces are different, but it gets balanced with the weight of the liquid, which it creeps up into the liquid tube. A liquid rises to a greater height in a tube having smaller diameter. That is what is shown here. The capillary effect is very often noticed for rise of water into the top of the trees. Now it has certain practical applications. One of the applications I have already pointed out, and that is the plant's ability to transport water from root to leaves. Ink pens, what we are using, there is a capillary action. Paper towels absorbency, indeed. Towels, paper towels also absorb uh, moisture or water. But actually, it is not a capillary tube, it is not a capillary action. We shall see a little later why. Other fluid-related biological system, for example, in our human system, kidney-related system, and many other complications in the human system are governed by capillary action. Now, an important question. Do gases show capillary action? The answer is no. Capillary action is not directly applicable to gases. There is another mechanism which gases can interact into the porous material. Now, actually, what happens that there is no cohesive force of attraction between the molecules of the gases. They are free to move in the space provided them. There is no wall to enclose them. And then the capillary action cannot be compared with the gases. Intermolecular forces do not come into action to form cohesive forces. Isn't it? However, gaseous molecules can be trapped within the pores of certain porous materials. And of course, we find using towels or even paper towel, we find that water or moisture is absorbed within the pores of the towel. Now, this is a mechanism which is not exactly equal to the capillary action, but somewhat similar, you can say. Uh, but the process or the phenomenon is termed differently, and that is known as absorption. And we shall get more details about absorption after some time. Okay, we stop here. Thank you. And we shall be back again with some more details about capillary action and the surface tension in liquids, its uses, etc. Thank you very much.